Hello, I'm Matthias Gufo, and today I will be talking to you guys about cloning. So, what is cloning? Well, to be a little basic for a second, cloning is when you take something and you replicate it. But more on that in a second. Today, I will be talking about animal cloning, human cloning, and the ethics around cloning. And the ethics are very important because there has been so much discourse for years about it that some laws got passed eventually preventing certain cloning methods that I will touch upon when we get there. But first, animal cloning. So, animal cloning, how do you exactly do it? Well, like right here it shows, you take a cell, let's say from a sheep, and you take that cell sheep and you take the nuclei out of it. And then you take an embryo, and then you take a cell from that embryo and you take the nuclei out of that. So then you put the nuclei of the sheep cell originally and you put it in embryo cell nuclei where, we took it out, we put it in, and then it should allegedly grow into the same type of animal or the exact same. But there are some issues with that, obviously, like with our first ever cloning attempt, or I guess successful attempt recorded, was 1996 Dolly sheep. Dolly the sheep was a very big scientific breakthrough because it allowed people to see that cloning really was a viable way of, obtaining like animals and producing more and all that stuff. But it comes with its downsides because Dolly the sheep did not live as long as a normal sheep did. It actually had a lot of issues that normal sheep normally don't. But, however, this didn't stop scientists because they kept on cloning and cloning. We cloned dogs, fish, horses, a bunch of animals, thousands of animals at this point have been cloned. And, this leads me into my human side of cloning because you would think that we're, maybe on a slower rate because humans are bigger. But no, actually, humans cloning isn't really possible. At least, I guess in theory, it could be possible. Logistically, I don't think it will ever happen. Even though it would be kind of cool, never gonna happen. Simply because there are a lot of things playing into human cloning. Like, for example, the biggest one being genotype and phenotype. So, genotype is like all the characteristics that you have, like your parents' hair, the eyes, your skin tone, how tall you could be, everything, it comes from your parents. That's your genotype in your DNA. But phenotype is how our genotype reacts to our surroundings. Like everything that we have inside of us, we express it in our own way based on our surroundings. That's why if we have, let's say, a brother or sister, they look exactly like us because they, grew up in slightly different environments. Even if it was the same, it will never be exactly the same. That's why we're all so different. But that's not the only thing that's stopping human cloning from being a thing. So apart from genotype and phenotype, there's also the money aspect. It will take a lot of money to put into it to just even attempt. That's another factor, the amount of attempts. To be able to clone a human, the process is a little different. You actually need a woman egg, like a uterus egg you need. And, to get those, you need to have a lot of women being, able to or willing to donate it for your research. But let's say you get 5 eggs. And for 5 eggs, you can get an attempt. Let's just throw a random number in there. Let's say each attempt is $1,000. That's $5,000 with a 3% rate of actual success, which isn't worth it in the long run. And even if you were able to successfully do it, there's a very, very low chance that the embryo would never even make it past the embryo stage. It would never grow into a little baby human person because, it was just very low. There's a lot of complications that come with cloning, which leads me into my next section, the ethics. Ethics is a big issue because there's a lot of issues that come with cloning. And cloning has very difficult complications for the clonee, I suppose. Let's say someone cloned a little version of me, and now there's just a little me running around around somehow, in a perfect world where everything goes right, he would have a lot of vital organ complications, and his life expectancy would be at least half of mine. And that's just very cruel to do that in general, which is why there was a 2001 organism like cloning law passed to prevent all that from happening. So now cloning humans specifically is effectively illegal. You cannot transport, import, be a part of, or even know it's occurring. And that's very bad. So, in conclusion, cloning it has its upsides for animals, but it also has some downsides. The animals are very much affected by, the complications, health complications. And for humans, it's not even possible. And the ethics are very worrisome for a lot of people. So in conclusion, human cloning, very bad. Everything else, it's alright.